Hello all, I made myself a mini router sled recently, so in this vid I thought I'd share the build right through to a test run at the end. From the off I have a bunch of 2060 and 2020 profile, some acrylic and a bunch of fittings. The profile and fittings are sourced via Ooze Nest. Initially I was going to do the sled 700 by 600mm, so it'd sit nicely atop one of my workbenches here. After some more thought, I decided to go a little bigger, so here you see me extending the length to 1 metre. That's the beauty of profile, it's like Meccano. You do need to take some care when joining two pieces end to end like this, that they are both perfectly flat and flush. This is why I'm clamping against another length of profile. I use two straight connectors each side of the profile join for strength. For the base pieces, which will give me the width, I'm using 3 pieces of 2020 profile 680mm long. To connect everything together, I'm using these neat little exterior L brackets along with flat sliding T-nuts. A couple of the brackets on each join and it's surprisingly rigid and strong. That's the Y-axis done. For the X-axis, across the width, I'm using 2 pieces of 2060 profile 700mm long with small pieces of 2020 each end to sit inside the 1 metre lengths as a guide. I use a few rule stops with set measurements to lay everything out initially. As I flip the assembly over, you can see how it works. Pretty simple, but effective. On all the contact surfaces, I've laid down some UHMW polyethylene tape. This is hard wearing and low friction, doing away with the metal on metal grating. It's pretty cheap, especially compared to wheel and bearing setups. You can get meters and meters of it for just a few quid, and it works great for this purpose. So here I'm cutting the 8mm acrylic for a gantry to stand the router base on. Nice and strong, but can be brittle to cut. I find dropping the motor speed when you cut or drill really helps for clean cuts and holes. I'm going to cut some little profile supports for the gantry, so on an aluminium blade goes for a nice clean cut. Look at that, clean as a whistle. Now a bunch of drilling, tapping and screwing to bring everything together. Some of you might be thinking by now, what's the point of a mini router sled? In short, room. I don't have any, but this sled will allow me to flatten pieces 600 by 850mm, ideal for small tables, wall art, shelves and other such items, so for me, it's worth it. Plus, of course, being made of profile, I can increase the size should things change in the future. So I'm using the same principle for the gantry as before here. 2 pieces of profile to rest and guide the platform along the X-axis. The backside also gets 2 plates to keep things steady and true. The plunge base is fitted with a couple of countersunk screws and a large hole drilled for the router bits. I've added some rubber stops to avoid running off the edges. You could use anything for this really, but I splashed out, about 4 quid a pack, on these skateboard truck bushes. Perfect for the job and come in a multitude of colours, which you can probably tell by now I'm trying to theme. You can see the little plate at the rear hits the bumper, allowing me to maximise the inside surfacing capacity. The plate serves a third function too, with the addition of a little thumb screw. It means I can lock the gantry along the width whilst I cut down the length. I know, clever innit? I've also put bumpers at the end of each length, this time fixed in place with internal, as in inside the profile slot, L brackets, again allowing me to maximise my cut parameters. So, as this sled is designed to sit on my bench, I used my guide rail dogs with the bolts I ground down to fit profile to keep it from sliding around the place when in use. Honestly, can't believe I'm still finding new uses for these dogs. Once in place, I just tighten from below. To keep in with the mini theme, I treated myself to a Mafell FM1000 milling motor. One of those machines you know is legit as soon as you pick it up, with a supremely smooth and quiet motor to boot. The milling motor doesn't have a light though, which I think would be useful for keeping an eye on things. To try and get round this, I picked up a flexible third hand with a clamp to hold a light. For the light itself, I found this great little thing, a USB mini torch keyring. Really quite a powerful LED spot. The great thing about this is it's USB rechargeable too. Perfect, and only a couple of quid. To fit it to the third hand, I just need to drill a hole through its top. Then I can slot a little bolt through the lid and use the thumb screws that came with the third hand to attach it. Work holding is something I've yet to decide on, and I may cover in a future vid. But for a test run, I'm just using a couple of tightened down thumb screws on one side with a couple of corner brackets the other, using little machine screws to grip the piece. Before we do a test run, here's the bit I've gone for. It's made by an Italian company, Fraser, and this is their tornado surfacing bit. It costs around £74 on Amazon, but it is the type with reversible, resharpenable and replaceable blades, so should be good value in the long run. The cutter head is 35mm with a 6.35mm or 1/4 inch shank. Don't know if it really shows, but this board is a fair bit thicker on the right than the left. Ideal for a test run. I'm taking it nice and steady here as I try and get a feel for what the setup is capable of. I've put the dust fitting on the router base too, but you can probably see it's doing very little. I need a shoe below the base for extraction to be effective. Again, something I can perhaps show in a later video. So I did about 3 passes, nothing too deep, couple of millimetre max for now, and I've left the shallowest corner on the left untouched so you can see a difference. It's a very nice clean cut. Where the grain is widest, the finish is mirror-like, like it's been planed. Using a bit of profile as a straight edge, I'm happy to see we're dead flat too. When it's not in use, it can just hang off the back wall of the garage, out of the way. So I hope you found this interesting, maybe getting your own creative juices flowing. I'll pop a few links in the description for a few of the bits, and feel free to leave your thoughts and comments below. Thanks for watching.